Susan Shaner with Sage Leadership Strategies, and I'm your host today of Community Forum. And I have the great pleasure to introduce to you today Devon Scanlon, who is the franchise owner of Chick-Fil-A in Brookfield. And she's going to talk with us about leadership, being a small business owner, and how she manages work-life balance, or integration as I like to call it. Welcome, Devon.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
And just to be completely transparent with our audience, just to let them know that I've been working with you in an executive coaching capacity for a couple of years.
Absolutely.
And you're so inspirational, so I wanted to have you on the show.
Some days, yeah.
Well, in my view. So I wanted to have you on the show to talk about, leadership, how you manage it, how you run your business, and how you manage work-life integration, because your husband's in the business as well, and you're the mother of a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old.
That's correct.
So you're a busy woman.
Absolutely.
So maybe we could start out with just giving our viewers an overview of your background.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Brookfield, Connecticut, so I'm super excited to be local again. My background was hotels and hospitalities and resorts, so I love to serve people, and that's what excited me in the golf industry. I've got to do some amazing events. I managed large teams of people and worked at business at higher levels as well. So I started at the bottom and really worked my way to the top in corporate America. So my background is corporate America. That's where I came from.
So at what point did you decide not only to be a small business owner, but to run a franchise? That's a particular kind of business. Like, at what point did you decide to do that? Why did you decide to do that? Why did you decide franchise?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like most entrepreneurs, I was always a little bit different in corporate America than my counterparts. I ran harder. I worked long hours. It was never 9 to 5 to me. I would stay up all night working on a project. I had an intensity level that was a little bit different than other people. And I had this when I was in my 30s, my early 30s, I had this calling to do more, and I didn't know what that calling was. I also knew that I did not want to use an alarm clock to wake up for work anymore. And that was something that really resonated with me, to say, how do I jump out of bed every morning and be excited? And how do I jump out of bed and have a positive impact in a much larger way? And so I really wrestled with that for a long time. And I also was wrestling with the fact of, do I become a mom in corporate America or don't I? Because to be the kind of mom I want to be, I couldn't be in corporate America in the capacity I was. So I...
Now, why do you say that?
Because I needed some flexibility, and I traveled a lot.
Okay.
So that's...
Was the travel schedule the kind of role you were in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
and so you didn't, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
No,
but
absolutely.
I think this is an interesting point, because I don't think you're unique in this. I think a lot of women wrestle with this.
Yes.
How can they continue to be ambitious and be a leader with visibility and impact and manage their work life?
Yes.
My daughter's 20 now, but I definitely had to work through that, and a lot of women, especially today, are trying to look at how can I do it differently. So it sounds like the particular organization you were working for and the kind of role you had, you didn't see a pathway there.
I didn't. And I knew my own personality I would feel an immense amount of guilt on the days where I wanted to go coach the basketball team or take my kids to school or take a day off just to be a mom. I knew that they would support it, but the work level and the workload and the intensity in which I was working with, I just knew that I wouldn't feel good inside. It was about my own personal struggles of who I wanted to be as a businesswoman. So my brother-in-law actually got into a franchise of a quick service restaurant, Chick-Fil-A, and I went to visit him. And I kind of laughed at him when he began his journey and said, well, what do you do all day? Make French fries? Is that what you do all day? And I know, oops, so look at me now.
He was like, no, I do more than that.
So I saw him, and I saw his leadership team, and I saw that he set his own schedule. I saw that he had an empowered team. He was leading people, and he was having this tremendous impact. And I said, I can do this. I didn't have a good to sell. I didn't have a service besides hospitality and how I make people feel. That's what I was really good at. Okay. And so when I was really looking at what I was good at, it was training, motivating, leading, how I made people feel. So I couldn't package that. So how I could package that was with this franchise and said, this is my way to do. This is my way to become an entrepreneur. This is how I can do it.
So this particular business was a vehicle, it sounds like it was a vehicle for you to continue to be able to demonstrate your strengths and what you're good at.
That's correct.
And to grow.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And it also matched me, and it was fast-paced. It was intense. And that's what was so exciting about the whole opportunity in the beginning and now is that I get to serve over 1,200 people a day. I have a staff of 70 people, so we're able to do big things in our community and have the impact that we want to have.
So you were on this quest, sort of questioning, and you make it sound sort of easy in that you're sort of questioning, what can I do? And then it just so happens your brother-in-law did this. So you said, let me go see what he does. So it doesn't sound like for you, it was, other people would have agonized on it or had this big research project, looked at a whole bunch of different options.
Right.
It almost sounds like you just sort of fell into it.
I did. I went after it. I didn't fall into it. I went after it. So I say I'm a believer as an entrepreneur that I can take risks in life. What's the worst thing that could happen is I have to move in with my parents, which I had to. to start this. Yes. But what's the worst thing that can happen? And so ultimately, at the age of 35, I was willing to risk it all and say, let me go after this opportunity and see if this is the right opportunity for my family. And it so happens that it was. After 3 years, we're in a great place. But I was willing to take that risk. And the opportunity that I was given was not one that you can buy your way into, which is a little bit different. You have to be selected.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the franchise that I'm with, it's not, you don't put up a certain amount of capital. You don't have to say you're going to build here and here, and you're not given a territory. What is done is you're given a restaurant, and the corporation pays for the restaurant to be built. And they really want to select somebody in the community to run that restaurant and own that restaurant for them. So they don't care how much money you have. They don't care how deep your pockets are. What they care about is the impact you're going to have on the local community, on the team that you're going to hire. And ultimately, it's not necessarily about the food. It's about that impact.
Yeah, so you didn't have to come up with any money, but what was the criteria by which they selected you?
Yep. So it was over a 2-year process.
2 years. That's a commitment.
Yep.
Boy, talk about an in-depth selection process.
Yes. So
I mean, some people are concerned about going on 4 or 5 interviews.
Yep. So now they're receiving 40,000 applicants a year for about 80 spots or locations. The year I was in, I had to be at 27,000 people.
27, and you were the only one of 27,000?
I was one of I believe 80. Out of the 27,000 that made it through that.
So
year.
What did they take you through over those 2 years?
It is really it's a complex. You need to tell your story, and you need to have your elevator speech. But they're looking at your past, really your past experiences, your past successes, your past failures. They're asking you about were you pushed out of an organization? Or were you pulled out of an organization? Why did you make the career decisions you did? So were you recruited away, or were you kind of pushed out of those organizations? And so there's lots of, we could talk for over an hour on the criteria, but I do have my master's degree, which helped. I have strategy, business acumen. I have lots of different experiences from my corporate background that helps me in what I do every day. But ultimately, what they're looking for is somebody who can relate to a team member who is an entry-level team member to working with the first selectman. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah, you've got a range of people out in the community.
Yeah, so somebody who can inspire that team member, but somebody who can also represent and communicate clearly to high-level people and make changes.
So you've been running it now. You're coming into your 3rd year. So it sounds like it was the right decision for you.
Absolutely.
At what point did you, because starting up, it was a new store, right? So starting up, takes a lot.
Absolutely.
And did you have your first child right when you started up?
Yes. So just to give you a little background, I had my son, and I actually, at a month old, had to give him to my husband to watch without me for his second month of life. I had to leave him for 4 weeks to go to restaurant school. And that, again, is decisions you have to make. And I really became a soldier for my family for the bigger picture, what was going to happen down the road. So I don't know, everyone said, wow, you must have been, your husband must have been really nervous. No, I was really nervous. And so that was a journey in itself. So I did have my first child. I went into business. We started the business. I moved back to my hometown, which thankfully it was my hometown. So we knew a lot of people. My parents were there. So that family support structure has been really instrumental to me being successful. I have a supportive husband, which is also very helpful. But things happen. Like we were supposed to open in May, and we didn't open until October. So I couldn't find somebody to write me a mortgage because it was a new company. So there was those struggles as a business owner that you're like, okay, I don't have anywhere to live. My dream come true. I'm living with my parents at the age of 36. But you make those sacrifices for what could be there as an entrepreneur. What is on the other side of this? What could be on the other side of this?
Yeah.
And that's ultimately the decisions you have to make.
So that's a lot at once, having your first child, starting up a business, and your husband's in the business with you.
Yes.
So can you tell a little bit about how that
Absolutely
works out?
Yeah, so we're still working on that, to be honest with you.
That'll be your book.
So yeah, so that's an interesting dynamic too, with bringing in family members and then having a partner in the business. So I could say I'm the owner, but I'm not. My husband's the owner with me. And making decisions together, and then the boundaries you set outside.
So you're not always talking about
I don't want
business.
to talk about work all the time.
Yeah.
It is my life, but when I'm with with my children, I want to talk about them. I want to be focused on them. I want to, if I'm outside playing soccer, I don't want to be thinking about what's happening. And so we've had to really learn those boundaries with each other and walk that path. And some days have been great and some days haven't, just to be honest. And we have great communication, and that's helped us through the way.
But the parent company selected you.
That's correct. Yes.
And so when you say you're sort of both the owners, technically, as far as they're concerned, you're the owner, but he's assisting you in the business. Is that?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Yep. So they just do that for clarity and just to make sure it's a clean process.
Yeah.
But really the only way that it can work is as him as a co-owner with me at the structure.
So, okay, I'm going to brag about you a little bit because you might not do it, but so you've only been in business 3 years, and you're one of the top stores, correct?
I am, as far as customer experience, speed, what the guests are saying, yes. And so we have ways to go as far as sales. We were the first restaurant in the chain in Connecticut, which brought on a whole nother set of challenges and opportunities.
Yeah.
But yes, we've had some great successes over 3 years as far as being top 10% in customer service and things like that.
So it sounds like the way you originally embarked upon this in terms of your strengths around hospitality and customer service and serving people is playing out.
Absolutely.
In the business.
Absolutely.
So that's incredible. You've done a lot in a short period of time in terms of starting up the business, obviously managing a marriage, managing kids, I mean, even all of that. So what are some things that you contribute to your success?
Absolutely. So number one is my team. So I have an amazing, amazing team. So selection of people has been a really big focus for us. In year one, I found a director of human resources who has been amazing and helped us really transform. And really ultimately what I want to be is the best place to work. And if I can create that environment, what really happens is then they are amazing. They come in, they're happy. That culture permeates to the guest. And so that's really how we've gotten hospitality all the way through our organization, is hiring the right person. And we've learned some tough lessons, don't get me wrong, when you have a team that turns over, and we've had some turnover lately, but I've had a great core team that's been with me since grand opening. I also have a leadership team. So a lot of people wouldn't expect a place like my restaurant to have a leadership team, but I have a leadership structure. I have an organizational structure. I have clear roles. I have people in charge. I have empowerment to make decisions. And so that really has helped as well, because there's not just one person running the business. I have an army of people running my business. And that trust that I have had to have that has had to be earned, but I've had to let go a little bit in order for them to learn. We've made mistakes, don't get me wrong. And so learning that it's okay to make mistakes, and that I want my team making mistakes, ultimately means that they're trying new things. They're trying things differently. So if we didn't make mistakes, we'd be doing the same things over and over and over again. And I never want to be that person or that leader that's just running things just okay. I want to be striving for more, and everybody ultimately should be, opening their eyes and saying, what else can we do? What more can I do? And that's what excites me. And so I would say my success lies with the people I hire, the people I love on every single day. And I would say the majority of my time is spent with my team. And so that's what has made me a little bit different, is people have asked me to serve on boards and do more for our community. But I've really believed, with my limited amount of time, because I am also a mom, that I really said in the first 3 years, this is where I want to focus. This is what I want to do. And so a lot of people will see me emptying garbage in my restaurant, or some days doing whatever it takes. And that's how I've earned the respect of my team, is getting down and dirty with them, and when on the days where it counts the most, being there for them.
Well, I know one of the things, if I could say, that you've also worked on is back and forth between being in the business and running the business.
That's correct.
And the fact that you've identified a leadership team that you're working on has allowed you, doesn't mean you're not going to empty garbage once in a while, but has allowed you to not always be in the business, but looking at running the business. What would you say about that?
That's correct. So I think at certain times your business needs different things. And so I really have tried to have a little bit more of a CEO mindset with my team, to really teach them professionalism, because one of my strengths is the ability to for my team to relate to me. So a lot of times they forget who they're speaking to, or they just kind of feel like I'm a friend. And so creating that level of professionalism has been something that, obviously, I hired a professional coach to work with me on, but I now have my own professional office space, so I'm not doing my work where my team is. It's allowing me to think strategically, business plans, those type of things. So as the business has grown, I've had to change every single year the type of owner that I am. So from year 1 to year 3 as a different leader. And that has been something that has been very interesting to me. Because I started as one way. I wanted everyone to like me. I wanted, I was pushing for results, but I was not able to say the word no. And so I had to learn how to say no. But now in year 3, around the fall, I start thinking, okay, how do I want to be different with my team?
Because that's your anniversary date,
It's my anniversary. So every fall is this reinvention. And I do it through reading, working with other professionals, working with a business coach on how do I sharpen myself. And if I'm not growing, then my team's definitely not growing.
So it sounds like you have a learner's mind. You're able to be agile with that, and you're willing to be fluid with your business practices based upon how you need to morph and change it based upon where you're at in terms of the development of your business and the development of yourself as the CEO running the business.
I have the mindset of it's not checkers. We're playing chess here. And so
a lot of people like checkers.
You have to, but checkers is, forward. It's,
Be more strategic.
Yes, and so I have to. I'm always looking. I'm always thinking. There's some sort of strategy, and one of the strengths that we have in our restaurant in leadership is it's strength-based leadership. So it's about finding what people are good at and capitalizing on that, and not knocking them down because they're not good at the one thing that you want them to be good at, and really capitalizing them on their strengths. And
so what would you say have been your greatest challenges?
My greatest challenges, I would say, there's been several of them. So I would say my greatest challenges come with a new brand and a new market. People not understanding what our brand stands for and who I am. Oh, it's a chain. Oh, it's a chain. I'm local. My team is local. All of our money that we give goes local. We're trying to let our actions speak louder than our words. And so the things you'll see from us are not what you'll see from other people, because this is my hometown. And so we've impacted Brookfield, but now Danbury's next, and that's where our eyes are set. And that's where it's been a little bit challenging.
In terms of
being allowed to be a part of things. So, oh no, you'll never be allowed in the schools. You'll never be allowed in the schools. Now we're asked if the cow will go to the football games at Brookfield High School, for example. Because the cow is, I just assumed everyone knew the cow. Our cow is our big mascot, and so we take a huge cow around with us, and it's part of our grassroots marketing efforts that we do. So we don't have a huge marketing budget like some of these other franchises. So we've really tried to impact locally and spread locally, and that we do that by, we call activating the cow, and the cow goes out in the community and everybody loves the cow. Some kids are scared of it, I don't blame them, but we were told no a lot in the beginning. We called companies and said, hey, we'd love to come show you our catering. We were told no. And how do you break down those barriers? Is by building a relationship. So I think.
So how do you go about doing that? Because so you started up a business, you were trying to gain traction in the community, and how do you go about, other than just being persistent, trying to, just in general, regardless of your business, what would your advice be to somebody who is trying to make the kind of headway in a business where they've got a lot of barriers?
Right. I would tell you that it takes time. And so that was something that was really a struggle for me at first, as I expected it to happen right away. So year one, I was running. And at the end of year one, I was tired. I did not understand that it's going to take time. And so
just knowing that helps.
Just knowing that helps. And it's like dating. You've got to give a little bit to gain a little bit. And so if you can find where your niche is and where you can give a little bit, you will gain. And so that ultimately is really what happened with us, is not really having the intention of gaining, but just saying, I believe in youth athletics. Those are some of the passions I have. So I'm going to give there. And as we started giving, the community was so shocked that we kept saying yes. And
because so interesting. So this, you're a chain, you're just this big corporate entity, you don't really care. Curious how you've managed some of that, as well as have there been instances where your corporate, parent organization or structure has a point of view on something that is against your values, or you don't believe in, or how do you reconcile that?
Absolutely.
While trying to be the face of the brand, where also you're an individual business owner.
Right. So it's funny you say that, because we're closed on Sundays, right? Oh, everyone says, well, then all your team must go to church. That's illegal to ask things like that of a team. I don't care what my team does on Sundays, as long as they're resting and relaxing and having fun with their family. And that's ultimately, everyone thinks that we stand for all of these conservative values. Whatever we stand for, and whatever I stand for, is one thing, and that we love everybody. We love everybody at Chick-Fil-A Brookfield. And so that's the impact we're trying to have and leave with people. And so people are going to have their opinions, and that's another thing that I've learned in business and owning my own business, is how thick my skin has had to be. And
so how did you navigate that? That's an interesting question. I mean, we've got a couple minutes here, but how did you navigate that when you're a people person, a sensitive person, you want to be liked?
Yes, I'm extremely sensitive, and so How I did it was every negative comment that I've ever gotten on my Facebook, as long as it didn't say swear words about any of my team, I invited them to have coffee with me.
Well, that's courageous.
Yep. And I only had 2 people ever take me up on it. And that's okay.
And how did those conversations go?
They were fantastic.
Yeah.
They helped, they grew me. The people that wanted to speak with me, they understood who I was.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of negative comments. And so I just said, one person at a time, I'm going to impact. And they don't know me. They think they know my business.
Yeah.
But that's personal because my business is me.
Yeah.
So that's
right.
where, yeah.
So we've got like another minute here.
Yes.
So what advice would you give someone who was looking to become a small business owner and possibly owner of a franchise?
I would tell you that it's the hardest work you'll ever do, but you get the biggest reward. And so ultimately, I would say, don't let things happen to you. Go out and get them. So I didn't just become the owner of a quick service restaurant. I went after it like an animal. People say, oh, well, you just bought your way in. I absolutely did not buy my way in. I went after it. And so the things that you want in life, you have to go after. And so I think what I experience a lot is people say, oh, I'm applying for one of these, or I'm going to buy one of these, or I would say do it. Just go and research it and do it. If it doesn't happen, then you'll go a different direction. But go after the things that you want. Listen to that calling within you. Listen to it. Because don't sit and be unhappy somewhere. Don't say what if.
Yeah.
Go after it.
Yeah. So
I'm getting excited about that.
Go after it.
Yeah.
So that's a great note to
Right.
end on. So if anybody had any questions or anything, how would they contact you?
Absolutely. They can contact me via email. And my email address is Devon, DEVON, .Scanlon, SCANLON, @CFAfranchisee with 2 E's.com.
Okay. So you're willing and open to talk to anybody about anything that we've covered today?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anytime.
Thanks so
Yep.
much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm Susan Shaner with Sage Leadership Strategies and Community Forum. Until next time, thank you for joining us.